Welcome to the Lair. My name is Ken Newquist, and this video is about the Tomb of the Forgotten, one of our contributions to Dungeon Jam 2026. Dungeon Jam is an annual event where a bunch of dungeon tubers create, release, and talk about 5-room dungeons. You can learn more about Dungeon Jam 2026 via the playlist above. 5-room dungeons were created by John Four at roleplayingtips.com. It's a cool system for quickly creating dynamic dungeons, but for my 5-room dungeon, I went a different route. I created a Shadow Dark tutorial dungeon where each room helps introduce different rules associated with the game. I ran it to introduce my lunchtime gaming group to Shadow Dark. Our groups played a lot of different games over the years, including GURPS Light, Monster of the Week, Dragon Age, Savage Worlds, and of course Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. But when it comes to fantasy, most of us defaulted to D&D 5e. We had a lot of stuff to unlearn because Shadow Dark is a greatly stripped down version of 5e. The Tomb of the Forgotten focuses on the differences and simplifications. It takes about an hour to run. In my campaign, it was the training wheels for our first full adventure, Den of the Iron Wolf. I then ran it again twice at a local con. This is still a work in progress, so look for updates over the next few weeks. So, let's get into the dungeon. The adventurers are hired to track down Jarnolf, the Iron Wolf, leader of a group of bandits who prey on the people of Natham and other remote villages in Morka Norden, the Dark North. As they head out to find Jarnolf, they are caught in a blizzard and forced to take cover in a cave. Inside the cave, they find that they are not the only ones there. A crew of tomb raiders is attempting to break into a stone door leading to the Tomb of the Forgotten. So, what's included in the adventure? The download includes the full adventure, 7 pre-generated characters, and 3 versions of the map. You've got a DM version, which we're going to go through real quick here, a grid version, and a gridless version. My goal with doing the map was to give people a high-level view of where the rules are and what you can introduce as you go along. So as we take a look at this map, as you can see, it's very basic because, again, this isn't meant to be a deep crawl. As people walk through the dungeon and you work through this with your players, you can do things like talk to them about how to make checks. How does time work? How do light sources work? How do distances work? Then as you move further in, you might get to a combat encounter. Well, now we start talking about turn orders, stealth and surprise. There's some NPCs hanging out here trying to break down the door. Do you do combat or do you do a charisma check or a reaction check to try and get them onto your side? Are there any traps here? Well, let's see. We might have to find out. And then we fight the big bad in the Tomb of the Forgotten. How does level advancement work? How does experience work? How does treasure work? The goal here, again, is to just provide new DMs or experienced DMs who are new to Shadow Dark scaffolding for running a quick adventure and getting their players and their group ready to go. All right, let's walk through the actual dungeon. Again, big massive storm raging outside. They take refuge in the cave. As they come in, they can investigate this initial cave and they find some sort of nest/den. Something has obviously been sleeping here, something large and monstrous. They're somewhat experienced adventurers. They may have heard of owl bears before, so I haven't forced a check. If they do an investigation, they're going to find fur and feathers and other remnants of cracked bones. Again, I'm not going to force the check here. If they're thinking about it and they ask the question, I'm just going to tell them, yes, there's an owl bear. Whether or not the owl bear shows up is up to you as the DM. These are first level characters, so they might not do very well against an owl bear, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but it should put a little fear into them as they wonder what is going to come in behind them. There's a small pool of water here, which they can investigate. The water flows out through this particular part of the dungeon and then moves into a more refined version of this complex where clearly something has used stone tools to dig out and refine the dungeon because there's some stairs coming down. In the distance, they can hear the sounds of NPCs arguing and cursing and trying to break down a stone door. As they get into this room over here, they can see a deeper pool. They can investigate it. If they do, they find a little bit of treasure in the pool. And then they come over into this room. Over here, we have a NPC tomb raider who's making sure, hey, I don't know, maybe owlbears or other horrors don't come down and catch them unawares. So he's hanging out. He can see that there's a light further down the tunnel, and he's just waiting for something to show up. The players at this point might have an opportunity to see if he's there. If they're proceeding carefully and they're looking around, they might notice him out of the corner of their eye. This could be an opposed check. It depends on how exactly you would want to run this. He might backstab them. He might just follow them down. He may call them out and say who goes there. It could be a combat encounter. It could be a role-playing encounter. If you're dealing with the NPC, they can proceed further in. They'll notice that there's a light source at the bottom of this tunnel because, hey, tomb raiders need to see as well. As they come down, they'll see there's a couple of bedrolls laid out and there's some backpacks. And, oh, here are our tomb raiders who are trying oh so hard to break down the big stone door. Carved into the floor are some ruins that basically say, don't open this door. The Forgotten lie beyond. The players then can investigate the door. If they do so, they can look for traps. There aren't any traps because really the ruins are meant to just be the warning, don't do this. If they look for a mechanism to open the door, they find a hidden switch. If they pull on the lever, they can open the stone door. They can also just try and break it down as a simple strength check. Once they get into the room beyond, with or without their new allies, they find a stoneworked room, professionally masoned, that sort of thing. There's torches and sconces on the walls. There's 3 urns that are on the floor, and there's a sarcophagus. And again, everything here is screaming, don't touch. If they decide to touch and open up the sarcophagus, there is a zombie who is the Forgotten who rises, and then there is a combat that ensues. After the combat, they can examine the room. The urns are filled with silver coins. All of them have been crossed out, like etched and kind of scarred and ruined. And all of this is to say, this person here has been forgotten by the gods and the world on purpose. Don't take the treasure. Don't disturb the tomb, which, of course, knowing players, they're going to do all of those things. There is a curse associated with the coins, riffing on Pirates of the Caribbean, because the best DMs steal. If they steal the coins, if they take the coins, then they themselves become cursed. The world forgets them, and to break the curse, they need to either atone for their sins or they need to return here with the coins and seal the tomb back up again. When I've run this previously, everybody thought that there was going to be a secret door in this room, and they forget that actually this is the first part of a longer adventure. Because you notice when they get here, the Iron Wolf, the bandit they have sought out, is not actually here. Yeah, it's because he's in a different dungeon, because this is just the first part. That having been said, I think it would be fun that there actually is a secret door, because in a con game, usually you're kind of almost on rails, right? Like there's the story, you got to go find the bandit, we're going to go find the bandit. I would love to run this where they find the secret door, they just go deeper into the Underdark, and they never actually find the Iron Bandit because they find something else perhaps equally interesting. And maybe perhaps at the end of the adventure, they realize they didn't go the right way. But as long as you had fun, who cares? So that is the Tomb of the Forgotten. My intention is to continue editing this, make sure we get all of the appropriate licensing and what having you in place and disclaimers attached to the document, and then build out the larger adventure, which is the Den of the Iron Wolf. Let us know what you think. You can email us at podcast@lairofsecrets.com, or you can leave a comment on YouTube.